And in my searches, I've looked for a variety of them. I've looked not just for the guy just standing up, but really showing him doing something, jumping around, smashing something, flexing, leaping, running, just doing Hulk type things. So I looked to try to find my own reference to something that I thought was good for what I wanted to do in an action pose. And I like this one. I had some help selecting it today, but I wanted to do this one because he's sort of flying through the air. You can tell that he's about to hit something and hit it really hard, and that speaks to my personality. So what I would tell you to do is I could have put some references up, but you do have the internet. There are a ton of websites where you can find references, and what I would tell you for this next part is to find a reference for the type of action pose you want to do, whether that's from another artist's drawing, whether it's from an actual photograph, whichever you can find, but I would find one, save one, and use it as the basis of your pose. Now, your pose could be running, jumping, it could be playing a sport. You could take a picture of someone who is basically playing soccer and make them a bank robber. You can do whatever you want over there, but we want to have something to look at to give us a reference. With that, I think you'll be a lot more successful. And again, we want to see for the body to be twisting, turning, jumping, running, fighting, whichever works for your particular character. To draw something like this, I'm going to simply do what I've always done, is I'm going to focus on the torso first and then work my way around that. So when I get started, I'm going to really just try to visually, sort of with my eyes, trace around, what his chest, stomach, and hips look like. And again, this is the art part. This might be something that you have to sort of draw and erase a dozen times, but what I'm doing right now is I'm sort of looking at this shape and trying to create something that looks similar. And now that I have something on the paper, I can kind of look and see, well, maybe it needs to come out a little bit more over here and here, make them look a little bit bigger. Now that I have the sort of trunk of the body, the sort of center part of the body, now I can start thinking about the arms and legs. Just like I did before and I was doing yesterday, is one of the things I like to do is almost work from a stick figure. I have the core. Now, before I start drawing like the arms and legs, what I can do is sort of set it up in a sort of stick figure format. If you draw good stick figures, you could get started on a really good drawing, because the stick figure itself gives you a sense of where things go and where they're going to be before you spend a ton of time really sort of adding details. With that, I'm going to look at his leg and I'm going to see, well, one of them sticks out this way, and then this looks pretty short to me. On this side, you don't see much because it's sort of hiding behind the body. So I'm going to start with that little bump there, and then again, I can kind of give myself a little bit of a reference of where the forward part of the leg is and where the back is. Remember, in an action pose, our proportions and the size of things is going to change dramatically, because you might have the person, sort of contorted or coming at you, which is going to make things appear larger or smaller. And once I feel like, man, I kind of got the pose down and I kind of think that I've got my basic layout, if this doesn't look right, this is a time for me to come in there and start erasing. But now that I do feel kind of okay about it, this is where I can come in and really sort of start adding a little bit of the mass, the beef to this body. Now, depending on your character, there may be someone who's thin and athletic. It may be somebody who's really big and round. It could be somebody who's out of shape. It doesn't really matter. But in this particular pose, what I'm going to go for is, my dream body. So I'm going to add a little bit more mass and a little bit more muscles. Before I really get into details, I just want to make sure that everything lays out and looks good. Now's the time, because I've kind of drawn the whole thing out, where if I need to come back and fix and change and erase, now's the time I can do that without wasting a ton of time really focused on details. So I think I found my pose. I think I found a reference that I really liked over here, and I sort of laid it out now. The rest of this is really just going to be about creating my details, and that could take a while. That could take a long time. I'm going to give you guys a long time to work on this. So what I would like you to do is, first is finish your action poses, your practice ones. Again, submit those in the 5 action pose practice assignment. From there, you really want to kind of look for an action pose that's going to work for your particular character. Again, think about what they could be doing as the hero that they've been designed as. What do? Are they, someone who flies around? Are they super strong? Are they super fast? Are they really thin and lanky? Are they thick and heavy? Try to think about the character you've created earlier in this course, and then think about what does their powers look like and what would be their quintessential pose. I know in one of the assignments I did show you a video where the artist kind of went over the whole Iron Man suit and the Iron Man pose, which kind of makes sense for him. Whenever you think of him in the classic drawings, you see him sort of just landing from or about to attack somebody, and he's sort of crouching, arms at his side, and looks like he's about to sort of just jump off the page. You want to think about for your character what is a pose that sort of really describes who they are and what they're about. And find a reference. I can't stress this enough. Don't just try to come off the top of the head. Even the best artists in the world, even the comic book guys, they're constantly looking at photo references, things to help them about like where to put this and where to put that. Once you spend that much time drawing, after a while you know anatomy good enough that you can just start to make up your own sort of poses and everything else like that. But especially for an action pose where the body's twisted and contorted and stuff like that, you really need a reference to look at. So again, I'm going to encourage you guys to use the internet, use the references and the tools that you have to get out there and find something that works for you. You can work from a drawing, okay? You can work directly from a photograph taken of a real live human person. You could take and reappropriate, meaning, hey, listen, I found a picture of my favorite soccer player, and he's kind of like leaping and trying to kick the ball. You could take that drawing and take that sort of pose and create it into any superhero pose that you want. Once you feel like you've got the basic layout and everything's good, from here I'm just going to spend the rest of the time adding my details and changing this character up. Nobody should be doing a straight up copy of anything. Like, I'm not drawing the Hulk, I'm drawing the sort of angry Mr. B pose. So I'm adding my respirator, and I'm going to start working on some of the basic details. Again, as I'm doing this, I constantly kind of look to work on one part of the drawing and bounce around a little bit without doing too much in any one place. So, in this case, I'll sort of start laying out some of my facial features, a little bit of my respirator, and I'm just really going to spend the rest of the time working on that and sort of finishing out the drawing. My goal for me right now is to get this drawing done, today in front of you guys. For you guys, I intend for you guys to be able to get in there and do some work. So you feel free to glance up every once in a while. Feel free to send me photos of what you're working on, especially if you feel like you need a little bit of help or you want to know exactly where you think you can improve your drawing. I'd be glad to look at it and check it for you. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue focusing on my character and getting my character looking the way I want, essentially adding my own details and everything else like that. And that's what we're going to do today. So your goals should be finish your practice drawings, okay? Finish those, the 5 actual bodies, and submit them. Once those are done, then the next step for you guys would be to start working on a action pose of your own character. And again, we're going to use the character that you created in the first project and then just adjust them and create an action pose that works for them. So I'm going to give you the rest of the period to work on your project, all right? And again, please utilize any and all resources that will be helpful to you. I just put a couple pictures up in the general, but I think if you do a quick search of dynamic action poses, you should find a million different ones. So you're only limited to what you can find that is useful for you in this course. I'll set up my Crocs, and then I'm going to let you guys work. If there are any questions or anything, please ask them. I'm going to give you plenty of time to do this assignment. I have it tentatively scheduled for next Tuesday, so there's plenty of time for that. So I don't really need you to finish quick. I need you to finish good. So take your time and work from there. I'll check back in with everybody in about 15 minutes or as necessary. Hey, Mr. Milani's joined us today, a special guest artist today.
I am going to email the EP kids to have them into the joint code. Are you okay with that? So you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, what's it called? I'm sorry, I'll do it during class
No,
tonight.
you don't worry about it.
All right.
I can easily message them.
Is it okay?
All
I'm
right.
sorry. Yeah, it's just
Worries.
when I get him in there, I have to sort of.
Mr. B the host.
This is.